Let's get you more now on Hurricane Helene that recently battered an all-important state going into this year's election of the seven swing states. North Carolina is one battleground state where a win by Harris or Trump in November could open a crucial path to victory to the White House. A Democratic presidential candidate hasn't won North Carolina since Obama way back in 2008. Complicating matters, Hurricane Helene, one of the deadliest and costliest storms in U.S. history, continues to have to raise concerns and problems as aid is distributed and relief efforts continue. Now, Helene has left a trail of devastation with more than 6 months' worth of rain landing in parts of North Carolina. Let's get you more on the story and the impact on the upcoming elections. North Carolina State Senator Chaudhuri joins us now for more. Chaudhuri is one of the few Democrats in the North Carolina State Senate, which is under Republican control. Senator Chaudhuri, thank you very much for joining us. I know it's a tough time given what we saw with Helene, so appreciate you joining us this morning. Senator Chaudhuri, now North Carolina is one of the 7 swing states that could decide the presidential election, like we've been saying. We are only a few weeks away from Election Day. How are things looking for things like polling booths that may have been affected, face possible damage? Is early voting on October 17th on track? Also, some people who voted in mail, that's those early mail-in ballots, are worried that their votes may have been washed away. What's the situation looking like on the ground?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Certainly our hearts and minds are with the people of Western North Carolina who have suffered unimaginable damage, and we continue to focus on rescuing, searching and rescuing those that are missing and need help. To answer your question about how the election will be administered, we are actually returning back for a session here in the North Carolina General Assembly this Wednesday, with an additional return back to the General Assembly 10 days later towards the end of October. And I suspect that we are going to address some of the issues that you have raised, because there have been ballots that have been mailed that have been lost in the mail. We will probably look to make access to mail-in ballots easier. We will, I suspect, make it easier for people who do not live within their precincts or their districts to be able to vote outside their precincts and districts. And there's a question of whether someone submits a mail-in ballot after Election Day, whether that will be allowed to be included in the vote count. All of these are efforts really to address the disaster that we're facing in Western North Carolina.
A lot of people will be closely watching to see what you decide in that meeting there. Now, several parts of Western North Carolina that were flooded by Helene are largely Republican. In 2020, Trump won, as you know, over 60% of the vote in these North Carolina counties that were declared so-called disaster zones or areas. Now, in a scenario that these areas could see low voter turnout and Trump could lose, are you worried that Trump may turn these counties into a battleground to launch accusations of a stolen election?
I don't want to get ahead of ourselves in what Donald Trump will say about the election without us going through the election administration. This is a Republican dominated General Assembly. I really think they will do everything they can to make sure that it is easier for folks living in Western North Carolina to have access to the ballot. So I remain optimistic that we will make the changes necessary so that people are able to vote even during a time of crisis. Certainly, the President Trump's misinformation with disaster relief doesn't help things, but I'm trying to remain confident that the election will be administered in a fair way that people in Western North Carolina have access to the ballot.
Indeed, we just spent some time talking to our guest previously on the disinformation coming across from Donald Trump on the issue of aid reaching the rightful people in your state, right, like North Carolina. Thanks, State Senator Chaudhuri, joining us from North Carolina. Appreciate your time. Unfortunately, leaving it there for now.